All right, guys, welcome back. Today, we've got an uncomfortable question for every real estate agent that's watching this one. So, if your spouse stops working tomorrow, could your real estate business actually support your family? Hey, because today we're going to talk about something the industry doesn't love to talk about. Most agents simply aren't making enough money. And I think that makes this conversation really interesting. We're going to look at it from both sides. Shaune sees it as a top producing real estate agent, and I see it every day with loan officers, realtors, and referral partners in the mortgage industry. Hey, welcome back to the Counterculture Agent with Shaune Corbett, presented on Loan Officer Success Live. Shaune, let's dive right into it, brother.
I love it, Devin. Looking forward to it. I appreciate it.
Same. So, you had come to me with this topic, and you basically said most agents don't make enough money to support their family. Why do you believe that?
I think in your space, it's probably the same thing. I don't think there's really much different, right? We're in a unique business model where we basically front load all of the risk. None of the money is made until the closing takes place.
That's right.
We're not talking about how to fix that particular issue today, but it's a lot of risk, right?
It is.
You want to compound that with, in our business, NAR as of 2025 reported that the average agent made $58,000 a year.
Wow.
I don't know how much you can get done after expenses if you start with a gross of 58 given to the agent. You probably have a hard time even after expenses to even buying water every month, right? It would be a challenge. I would assume that loan officers have the exact same type of scenario where the majority of them, and it's like any business, right? 80
That's right.
is a normal number. It applies across real estate. It applies across almost everything we do. 20% is selling 80%. But here's where the problem is. It's not the 20%, because even within the 20%, most of them are not making enough money to survive and take care of the family. That's what is the anomaly about our business. And I've gotten it down to it's somewhere around 5%. And when I say 5%, I'm talking they're at least $150,000 a year gross commission. That's really not even enough to handle a family of four like I have.
It's not.
A family of six, really, because it's two of us and four kids. Yeah. So I don't know how you would feel about making $150,000 a year, but we would have a hard time, keeping up and being able to eat. So that's really kind of what I wanted to focus on.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, and you talk about on the lending side, we're actually finding more recent data is supporting that 10% of the originators are actually able to support themselves and 90% are starting to fall behind. That's been the big topic in our industry because we've got a small group of people that are really taking massive market share, and we've got the majority that are out there struggling to find opportunity. And that's tough. And that brings me to, my first question for you. Do you think this is primarily because the housing market's been difficult, or is a difficult market just exposing their business that was never strong enough to begin with?
Yeah, it's a loaded question, right? There's a lot of directions we can go with that. So COVID, generally, people that started during COVID got an explosion of opportunity with little effort.
They did.
Okay? That's not real life. They got the benefit. If you came in about 2021, you got the COVID benefit, right? So you got the explosion of opportunity. Everything came easy, except for if you only worked buyers, then it was a little bit of a struggle.
That's right.
If you had any type of house for sale, it generally would sell without really much effort. That's not real life.
Yeah.
So those were jaded, and then they stayed in, and a lot of those got out after the 3 to 4 years of absolute desert. Right now, I would say sometime last year, we hit the 25-year low of total volume of turnover in houses that actually sold. And when I say 25-year low, that means that the number of turnover houses sold was lower than it was all the way back to like 2000.
Wow.
Okay? So in 2000, they had the same amount with, 10, 15% less population.
Yeah.
Right? So that's an incredible kind of, factoid to kind of deal with. So when you don't have transactions, you don't have turnover, that means agents don't have work to do. And same thing with loan officers.
Absolutely.
I'm preaching to the choir. We all know it. We're living it. We experience it. So that pressure kicked a lot of people out. And that also drove down the average agent's income, of course. So $58,000 a year is your average agent. I've been fortunate. I moved to a brokerage myself. We talked a little bit about value-added propositions, and I'm really not a recruiter for the brokerage specifically. It's just because it's not for everyone, but our average agent where I'm at is $300,000 a year. Okay. The top 3% of agents make $250 or more. Okay. Why does that matter? Because at $250, you can actually survive.
You can.
At $250, you take out your expenses, you have enough money. Generally, you're probably still rolling in about $10,000 to $12,000 a month of money you can live on.
Right.
You can actually survive there. But that's only the top 3%.
Ouch.
I almost feel like it's a more polarity than it is even for you, right? I mean, you talked about top 10%. No way the top 10% as agents, because I'm telling you, about the 7% below that 3% are not making enough. They're just struggling. Have a spouse that works, right?
Yeah.
Which is the way our business was originally kind of designed, as just the way of how it transformed and morphed. You would have a stay-at-home mom that wanted something to do, so she would go become a realtor, and then she would join the social clubs, and they would do all the things together, and the luncheons, get all kinds of free things, and they would sell their one house a month, and they would be in the top honor club for the quarter. And when we look back and we think it's funny, all they did is made enough money to buy their Beamer.
Yeah.
They didn't actually supply or provide anything to the family. Those days. That's not a career.
It's not a career. It's not a career. And why do you think that doesn't work in today's market?
Again, there's always different ways.
And I think you're saying it never worked, right? It was never a true sustainable income, right? But at the end of the day, what does it really take in 2026, right? Loading into 2027 to create success for yourself in this industry?
How about I turn that back on you right now?
Okay.
I'd really like to see you kind of dive into, we pointed out a problem. We have an issue. People do not make enough. They're not producing enough. We have a high turnover. We have people that don't make it beyond, 2 or 3 years. I know where I'm at. It's like a 95% quit rate. It's a stupid idea. If you're not getting 2 to 3 years down the road and you start generating 20 to 30 transactions a year, you're not going to be able to support anyone.
It's not sustainable.
Yeah. So how is it in your space for those loan officers that come in? Because it's a tough market to come into.
It is.
And I think you and I look at it like, if you can make it here, just wait until the market opens up again. That's where you're going to be positioned in the right. It's better to be there than the other way, right? Where you're doing lots of work and then all of a sudden it hammers down and nothing's happening.
It's funny you say that, because we've seen a lot of that type of shifting. And what I mean by that is we have seasoned loan officers, veterans that have been in this industry for decades that have had to get out. And a big part of that is because during that pandemic time that you talked about, where rates were 2.75, were lower, they let their foot off the gas because, quite frankly, they could walk out the front door and trip over a loan, right? It was literally like, oh, somebody's walking down the street. What's your rate? 6.5. Oh, great. Let's talk, right? I mean, that was how simple that it was. And unfortunately, a lot of these seasoned veterans, they lost that motivation and drive to go out and actually build a sustainable business. And so some made it through, but the masses, they fell out. And we've seen a massive drop off in originators. I think it's more than 40%. It might be up to 60% at this point in time of loan officers that were licensed during the pandemic that are no longer licensed. But what we've also seen, Shaune, is a new group of originators that have actually started in this market that are having massive success, right? So why do you think that is?
So in my space, there's a number of things that we do have to do no matter what you are, right? So you still have to have the right number of conversations. If you don't have the right number of conversations, you're ultimately not going to have the right number of opportunities in order to have the right number of conversions.
Absolutely.
I think if I could give general advice, I would say beyond the conversations is get extremely specific about your avatar. And no one really does this that you need to. An avatar is who is your ideal client, who, if you talk to them, you could hit it off. You'll talk the same language. You understand. You're in the same space of life. What you buy and what your experiences are going to be very similar. That's generally a great place to start. You don't have to start there, but that's a great place for the average agent to start, because some
Agreed.
focus on seniors, some focus on first-time home buyers, and they might be a 40-year-old and they've already got their third house, but they know that emotionally and everything they're going through, and they want to walk them through that and experience that.
Mm-hmm.
That is it. Riches are in your niches, right? That's the
amen to that.
thing. And you have to build your model and who you are around that. That includes your branding language, your advertisement, your Facebook promotion. When you do conversations and YouTube and you post your videos, here's the first thing I would do with a brand new buyer never bought a house, right? Or here's the 3 things everyone always fails when they're preparing to buy. All these basic videos. Chad can spit it out and give you 10 videos in 3 seconds.
That's it.
Just read the script, get on there, be organic, and be who you are. Don't just read, really feel it, and then they're gonna connect with you.
Well, and Shaune, to your point, when you're going to chat and asking for that information, you can actually be even very specific about who you're trying to connect with, right? So you can go in and you can prompt, and a prompt is literally just a communication. You actually speak it directly into chat and say, hey, this is my avatar. These are the people that I'm interested in. This is the market that I serve. What are the most frequently asked questions about real estate inside of this market? Right. And what's going to happen is chat's going to come back and it's going to say, hey, here's a list of 20 frequently asked questions. And then you can say, okay, now let's break that down and let's put together a 30-second video clip that I can go out and I can do on how we can help you with these frequently asked questions. And then you publish that and you get it out there. The other thing you talked about was consistency. And that's the same thing on my side of the table in the lending space, is doing outreach consistently. And this is where a lot of people get it wrong, right? We forget that we have to be in front of more people to create great successes for ourselves. So again, he who has the most contacts typically wins in this industry. So at the end of the day, what I found with a lot of these newer originators that are starting in this market, it's that they're not afraid to get out there and hear no a lot of times. And at the end of the day, that's going to lead them closer to those yeses. And it's the consistency that's really helping them build the market. And that other side of it, which is what you're talking about, they're not afraid to get on social media and talk directly to the audience that they're trying to connect with.
Sure. I'm going to tag something you said, who has the most contacts to the audience. I would follow it up more, who follows up with the most contacts. Right? You got to have a connection and a relationship. So
that's
I
right.
mentioned this before. I have about 1,500 people in my primary and secondary is how I categorize them within my phone. Okay, I have about 4,000 names in my phone. I have 4 categories. This is all in my book: primary, secondary, other, and agents. Okay, so the primary is people that know me and I know them. We know each other well, and I could call them and it wouldn't be weird. Okay, and I'm overly simplifying it. Secondary are people that may know of me and I know of them, but it might be a little weird if I reach out, but it'd be okay if they got a newsletter.
Right.
I can stay in touch with them. And I have in that group primary and secondary, and other is like a doctor or numbers you have to have in your phone.
Right.
I put them in that category, right? I don't need to reach out to them, but I need to be able to, call the number, or my plumber or electrician or whatever. And then the fourth one is agents. I've been tracking agents for about 3 years, and I think I've got somewhere around 1,500 agents in my phone that I've got permission from them. I can reach out to them, I can contact them, and I can invite them to events and stuff. I've always done that because I'm trying to build a very large agent community.
Right.
I have a big give back opportunity. I want to continue to grow that. So that's the reason why I do it. Most people don't want to waste their time checking and keeping up with agents. You would have a reason to, and I have a reason to, but most agents don't. So I touch everyone in my primary and secondary 4 times a year, and it does it automated. I have an automated system to do that, and it sends a thinking of you message. That's the way you stay in front of them, and it's one way.
That's right.
You can make it. You can automate some of this.
You can
still have a personal touch because it comes from my phone number, and it says their name, and it says I'm thinking about them. So it inevitably 50% of the time I get responses.
Yeah.
Now I can re-engage with them, and they're going to bring up at that point something in real estate. They will every time they do it.
I love it. Something we teach our teams is to just do video outreach. What we see a lot of the times is, let's just talk Facebook, right? So Facebook, it's somebody's birthday. It's Shaune's birthday. And we see on the timeline, 300 people post happy birthday to Shaune, right? The way we like to stand out here is we actually just do a quick video on Facebook. We'll pick up the phone, we'll go to birthdays, we'll see whose birthday it is on that particular day, and we'll run through and we'll do 5 birthday videos to people that are in the database. Hey, Shaune, just wanted to say happy birthday to you. It's different. And what you find a lot of the times is they actually engage back with that communication, and it starts that dialogue, but it lets them know that you're thinking about them. And it's just a different way of connecting that a lot of people don't think to do.
Sure. And it's probably generic, but my system, if it has a birthday registered on my contacts, it will send them a message.
Yeah.
Not quite as good as what you're doing,
right.
But I'm doing it at such a scale by myself. It just makes it a lot more efficient.
Makes perfect sense.
The thing is, I'm going to tell you this is really important. This is for loan officers too. You need to actually differentiate yourself, and where do you add value, right? Where do you make a difference for the client? What is a compelling reason for someone to work with you? Having a brand around first-time home buyer, that creates a compelling opportunity. But maybe instead you say, hey, if you work with me, I'm going to warranty that house for you for 2 years or something. Offer something that's really unique and you really
tangible.
Care about. Yeah, add value, right? Add value. Or if I don't communicate with you, communication is the number one complaint by all clients, because clients don't know it's a problem until they get an agent.
Right.
Because agents, what happens, they list the home and they don't talk to them for 3 months, and they're like, well, what the heck are we doing? Are we selling a house? And they disappear, not because they're trying to avoid them. They don't have anything to share. They have no plan, and that's 90% of agents. But clients don't know communication is a problem until they get in and realize we're not hearing from them. You and I know it's a problem because I can't get agents on the phone. They never even answer their freaking phone.
Yeah.
It always happens. It always shocks me. I mean, I do podcasts like this. I've got a book I just finished. I have a community I run.
You do
more sales than anyone I know, and I'm always available. I'm like, how can you possibly tell me you're too busy? I would give you so much anxiety if I told you what I do in a day. But anyway.
I respect it. Well, and at the end of the day, you're right. It's the no plan that a lot of people are on. And, this is something that we coach on and follow religiously, and that is the communication aspect. So, our specific philosophy and strategy is we have theme days. And again, I tell people all the time, I don't necessarily care if you make that outreach call on that theme day. You just have to make the outreach call. So, Mondays are our touch base calls. Tuesday is what we call just ask. That's when we're reaching out to our agent partners, our clients, and our listing side and title side to give everybody an update on the file. Wednesdays is when we do our outreach to past customer database. Thursdays is touching base with our pals, which are pre-approved and lookings. And we have a little strategy here, Shaune, we call touch the lead, touch the partner, because some of the biggest complaints we have are communication, following up on leads, right? And closing on time. Well, let me tell you something. Those are 3 of the most basic things in this industry, but if you can't get those right, you're not going to be able to make connections. And more importantly, you're not going to build a referable process. And that's what it's all about, is building that referable process with a strategy for outreach that keeps you in constant communication with the people that need to be hearing from you.
I love it. No, those are all great ways of staying consistently touching. That will create opportunities every single time if you do it, and you do it long term. This is the problem. We do have the shiny object syndrome. All agents have it. I'm sure loan officers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what I want to tell people is you need to make sure and perfect your core programs. That would be like your CRM, your brand, consistent social media postings, touch systems, get all of that exactly right, consistent. Then we can do a shiny object, right? We can add, I want AI to start doing some things for me and having, I want to try that lead generation system and things like that.
Right.
I generally find pay for lead systems are typically about 3 to 4, steps well past before we start generating opportunities in our own sphere. Everyone wants to jump right in. They've got a little bit extra money. They started in real estate. I'll start paying Zillow. And they don't have any systems in place to be able to give their clients a consistent experience.
Right.
You got to make sure you have things when the contracts are ready to be written, who's writing them, who's setting up the checklist of being able to qualify and make sure everything is done. All the things, the core things you have when you have a client, so they have a good experience. Most of them just jump in and get in the car and start writing offers and just wing everything.
That's it.
If I could tell any real productive agent, if they wanted to change the outcome, the only way to change the outcome is to lock in the outcome by defining it. And that's creating systems and processes that will always give you the same outcome. But 99% of agents, every transaction is completely different. They will tell you this. But what they forget is 80% of it is the same.
Yeah.
Focus on getting that 80% perfectly locked down.
That's it. Well, there's brilliance in the basics.
Happen, you can handle.
Yeah, there's brilliance in the basics, right? And the basics are creating a process that can be followed consistently and religiously. One of the books that we always recommend for this is Traction. I don't know if you're familiar with this or not, right? But what Traction basically does, it says, first off, figure out who you are and what you're about, right? So come up with your core values, the things that are most important for you and how you want to communicate with people, and then come up with your plan. And that plan has to be a plan that not only but as you start to build your team, everybody on the team understands it, right? The core values represent how that plan is going to work. And your process is what everybody has to expect to do when they're working with you. And that's what you're talking about, is you're basically sitting down and saying, these are my non-negotiables. This is what it looks like when you're doing business with me. It's going to be consistent every single time in this order. And once you have that identified and know exactly how you're going to lay down that plan, now you can start to grow. And this is where you're talking about, hey, if we want to buy some Zillow leads, that's great. Let's buy some Zillow leads. But at the same time, we need to make sure that when we're buying those Zillow leads, we have a referable process so that as we start to communicate with clients, they're going to have a system that they love and they're going to fall into the format, right? This is what we do. I love Shaune. He's got a system and he's going to start referring people to Shaune because he loves the way that Shaune does and runs his business.
Yeah, and your clients will give you 5-star reviews because the outcome is what you said it would be, right?
That's it.
A predictable system. You know where they're going to end up. I'll say something that will really land home. Going from $58,000 to $150,000 does not take 3 times more work. It does not take 3 times more effort. And everyone thinks I'll just work 3 times as hard. It doesn't work that way. You have to create repeatable systems that produces the conversations and the appointments and the clients, whether you feel, motivated or not. You have to do the same thing every single day.
Every day.
And I would encourage you to find someone that does have systems and processes that is defining that. For new people, it's good to join a team.
It is
a successful team, a team that does have some standard systems in place. And, we were talking about, and this is why I'm not as excited about Zillow and some of them, is because they are capture everyone strategy, and not everyone is a good fit.
Amen.
If you can create, off market, right? So off market is where investors buy, and they buy something within a buy box. The buy box has very specific criteria. It's got to be this price, this age, this zip code, and they're very specific. And when they get in that buy box, they even know the exact percentage that they can offer within that space. If you can even think about your avatar, your ideal client to fit within that space, then only focus on that space and stay on it for, 3-4 months in a row. It will bring fruit. It will connect you with opportunities. Because what happens is let's say you start posting in Facebook groups and you're connecting with them, and your focus is that first-time home buyer. We just rolled out a program where we can get you in at no down payment, and your first year we can get, at 3.5%.
Amen.
Whatever the magic thing is, do you know if anyone would really benefit from running through this program? And you just start creating these conversations, they're inevitably going to say, oh, I'm looking, or yeah, I have someone that really needs some help.
I just heard somebody at work that was talking about purchasing a home, right? I mean, it's going to happen.
It will create those conversations, especially when you come in and it says Shaune Corbett, new home, first-time home buyer specialist. When you really just start defining. I had a Marine. It's funny. I did a podcast with him. He was new. I don't normally do podcasts often with newer agents, but he was newer. Right. And he had never built anything. He didn't have a brand. He was just his name. And I said, okay, well, then people really have to know you or they're never going to call you because you don't give them any reason to connect with them.
Right.
And he's like, well, I was a Marine. I said, okay, well then call yourself the Marine agent. He said,
Yeah.
and this is what people think. Well, that'll alienate me from everyone else. I said, no, it won't.
No.
What happens is maybe it will lower from 100 people that might have some interest down to 10 that have full interest.
Absolute interest.
And they don't think this way, right? It's the same thing I have with the MLS. Same thing. MLS will have 10,000 people that don't want to buy that house, which means that it devalues the house, which means that the price drops and the days on market also devalue that. It devalues the house every way possible. It becomes, what do they call it? Like seasoned inventory or delayed inventory. There's a name for it. If it's on the market and no one's buying it, it's not as valuable. You know, so for him, become the marine agent and your connection is really high. And
you know what I hear with that, Shaune, is you're in a fishing boat and you go out to sea and you've got no depth finder that shows you where the fish are, right? And you're just fishing for anything. You didn't even bring a particular bait. You know, you don't have no idea whether this fish is going to like the bait that you're throwing out there, and just throwing something out and you're hoping to catch something, right? Versus the guy that goes out and has the exact rod, the exact string, right? The right type of lures or hooks, the exact bait, and they drive right to where the fish are. And they drop the line in and they're picking up fish left and right because they use the right tool for the job. And in your case, what you're saying is a lot of people are afraid to do that because they go, wait, but I could miss out on this type of fish and that type of fish and this type of fish. But if you don't know what you're fishing for, you're going to have a really hard time catching it.
That's exactly right. You know, if you're trying to catch everything, you'll catch nothing. Or you have to overspend in order to get the percentage high enough on the conversion.
Yeah.
You have to overspend. It means you have to be so many places at once, and you have to build a brand that's incredibly expensive from scratch. Or you can just target who you want to work with, number one. Yeah. And number two, they're going to have that connection with you because they're going to be like, you're offering what I'm looking for, right? You're offering what I'm interested in. You're speaking my language. You know, you fit what I'm looking. So I think it's a great way to do it. I wish agents would really hyper focus on doing that, you know, and that would save themselves a lot of marketing.
Well, people are going to connect with you. If they know who you are and what you're about, they're going to connect with you. And you're going to find the people that go, man, I like this guy. This is what I'm about. Or he's advertising what I'm interested in, right? And this is what we talk about on our side of the table as well all the time, right? You know, if you want to go out and you want to build a business on investors, we've got great DSR products, right? You know, we've got great investment bank statement programs. You know, that's a market you can go directly after. And I've got a good friend of mine who's new to the industry down in Lincoln, Nebraska. And he literally just started popping himself into local investor groups on Facebook and making friends with these investors, answering questions, right? And then subtly, he'd post a video on his page about DSCR. What do you know, Shaune? The next thing, in the next couple of months, he starts closing massive amounts of investment property loans. Why is that? Because he focused on one group, and he displayed exactly what they would be interested in. And he was friendly inside of the group. So he made friends with all these people. And then when he started posting, hey, by the way, I help with this type of stuff on his main page, they were already friends. They were already connected. They were seeing what he was doing. And now all of a sudden he starts building a business model that actually functions and works.
And for that person, right, I want to make sure everyone has this mentality of I become the marine agent, I become the first-time home buyer, I become the DSCR lender. Once I do that, then no one else will call me, and that is not true.
Absolutely not.
You're still going to get referrals, and referrals come to you because of you. Those are referrals because of you. Those you're going to get, even if you special. I have people that ask me, you know, hey, do you do this? Do you do that? And because I'm not advertising that, they don't know if I do it or not. So, of course, 90% of the time, I'm like, yeah, I can solve that problem. Yes.
Absolutely.
You know, so I think that's a really good value add. The other problem is agents spend money to solve discipline problems. Right?
What does that look like?
Money. They do, right? So I'm not selling enough houses, you know, but I'm not doing any systems. I haven't focused on my brand. I don't have my CRM set up. I don't have my touch systems set up. I don't have consistent, ongoing, regular social media posts. But I'm going to go pay for Zillow ads.
Yeah.
You know, or I'm going to pay for, you know, something else and what they do is they overspend in order to cover their spend. Maybe they make a little bit of profitability. The only thing it does is it makes them busy, but they're not profitable. I had this so upside down into the last year. I always thought, going to a more expensive split brokerage versus a flat fee is okay as long as you're closing transactions. And I used to focus on that because my agents close transactions. People go to flat fee agents and there's no support. You're supposed to already have everything set up so that way you can save money per transaction. But they would go over there and they wouldn't close any transactions. I said, great, you're saving money, but you're not even producing anything. What's the benefit? I've really changed my mentality to figuring out how to become more profitable per transaction instead of just closing transactions to close them, spending $100,000 a year on Zillow and then bringing back 125,000, right? That's not enough.
That's not a sustainable business model, right? There's no profit in that. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. You're spinning your wheels. You're closing things. You feel productive. It feels very productive, right? But at the end of the day, the cost per transaction doesn't add up to the amount of effort that you're putting in. So what you've got to do at that point is divide it out and see exactly how much per hour that you're making to do all this busy work. And I promise you, when you look at that math, you're making the same thing as somebody that's making minimum wage, if not less.
And to put a bow on it, for every agent out there that's doing $58,000 a year and they want to go to 150 plus, it's 99.9% a system problem. Okay. It's really nothing else. You don't have systems. You're not working any type of systems.
Yeah.
You're waiting for other people to give you leads, or you're not proactively doing anything. I mean, you're just praying, right? Or you're paying for lead generation companies that will create opportunities, but if you don't have systems in place, they may never work with you again because you have no continuity. You don't offer really a solution. You're a commodity. Agents right now, and this applies to almost every agent that's listening to this, you are a commodity if you do not offer a value proposition. A commodity means you are working on, look at that, Chris jumped in, I love that.
My man, Chris Quaylar.
Yep. Chris Quayle, he's over in our Cigar International event, right?
That's right.
Commodity means that if you were to go to a store and you had 3 products on the shelf and they were all different brands, but they did the exact same thing and you could not tell them apart, you're going to buy on one reason, the cheapest one.
Yeah.
That means you don't offer value. In the absence of value, price is negotiable. So it's the same thing for loan officers. It's the same thing for agents. When you meet with clients, if you don't have a value proposition,
that's right.
What you work for is negotiable. And I'm telling you right now, I don't think agents could build a business even on 2 or 3%. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'll say some outlandish things. I don't think that's enough commission to even support anyone. So the ones that are trying to do 1%, battle to the bottom, strip down every service, they devalue what we're offering, number one. There was an agent not far from me, and was the number 1 agent in Dallas-Fort Worth. This is before Ben Caballero came over and started listing all the new builds. Right. Now he's like the number 1 in the world. You heard of Ben Caballero?
I haven't, Shaune. I'm hiding under a rock.
Yeah, he has a system he set up, and he lists new builds, and he lists.
It's killer.
He's like closing one every 3 seconds. It's a stupid deal. And good for him. I mean, he found a niche, he found an opportunity, and new builds are. I don't want them because you're always negotiable with banks, REOs, new builds. You're always negotiable. I don't want to be, so the only thing you can do is strip it down to the simplest form. And he figured out a way to do it. And it makes it so builders can control their entire listing through his system. So he didn't have to do anything. So he was able to scale and build it and sell for a very low price. Anyway, it's a group called Your Home Free. And they sell your house for free if you buy through them.
Okay.
And they were very successful. They sold a lot of homes, and I've sold some of their homes. And on the HUD statement, back in the HUDs,
right,
it would say 0 for the seller commission, right? But if you think as a business owner, how much are you going to put in to the effort of posting and promoting a house that has 0 money to be made on it and will cost you money to sell? How much can you really put into it? And then you sell more houses than anyone. And that's a great opportunity. But if you sell more houses than anyone and you're having to do it at this consequence,
Right.
some point, everyone's going to be mad because you can't promote it. You can't put anything into it. And then the sellers aren't going to be happy because you can't sell the home.
Well, Chris has got a good question for us, and I'm going to pop this up here, and then I want to field one too. But if you were a brand new realtor today, you had no database, no clients, no money for Zillow or paid leads, what would you do every single day for the next 90 days to build a pipeline organically? Great question, Chris. And aren't you supposed to be at pickleball today?
Yeah, that's good. Pickleball. Why are you going to stump us?
Yeah, what are you doing, man? It's a great question.
And I'm sure I'll let Devin answer as well. But my view is I created. I wrote my book called The Simple Sphere System, and it walks through how to build something on those 3 core principles I talk about at little to no cost. It's duplicatable, meaning you can do it forever, and it's it's something that you can do. Like you have the capability of doing. It's not something that someone else has to have special skills to do. For anyone out there, it might always start with you have to focus internally on your sphere. Everyone's going to say this, right? You always have to start internally with your sphere, and then you have to start building systems based on reaching out to them systematically. Everyone can do this. Okay?
Real quick, Shaune, I want to elaborate on that because he says, "Hey, I have no database, no clients. What's my sphere?"
Oh, that's right. You try to cut it all, right? We're gonna have to build one.
Yeah.
If it were me and I started with nothing, I would join a team. So at least they have systems, opportunities, and places for me to start building opportunities.
That's right.
At the same time, you cannot rely on that in order to build a sustainable income. I don't care what brokerage it is. There's not a brokerage out there that's going to make you $250,000 a year in leads they're providing. Never going to happen.
Right.
So you have to build your own, and you have to build a database. If you don't have a database, your contact list, your network is your net worth.
That's right.
You have to build that. So join your church, join pickleball, go to some
Facebook community,
connect with people, start building relationships. Chris is probably one of the most network guys out there that I know. So it's funny that you asked that. But I would start building right there. That's the exact place where you have to start, is build your own. But I would join a team, even if it costs you 50%. 50% of opportunity is better than 0% of 100%.
That's it.
You have to create at-bats. You have to create opportunities. You have to sit on. I think the open house tour can work really effective if you learn how to effectively do it. When I do an open house through my system, I do a 1-hour open house, and I'll get 30 to 50 people come through my open house if you do it right. You can build your own database.
That's a podcast for another day, but I am going to take that on the lending side because we see this all the time. In fact, we see the independent broker guys that are maybe closing 1 loan a month or maybe closing 1 loan here or there. And they've got a higher split and they think, hey, I've got this higher split. This is going to make so much more sense. I'm going to make so much more money. But the problem is they have no process. They have no systems. They have no team that are behind them. And so what we're seeing happening a lot of times is we'll bring these guys or gals over to our team and we'll introduce them to a very specific process. We'll provide them a loan officer assistant that can help them structure their loans so they can stay focused on going out and actually building their business. We provide them with a high-end processor that knows the systems inside and out. And then we give them a structured system and a game plan that they can follow and execute every day. We have a 2-hour call window we call cageless callers that we do Monday through Friday, where we bring people on and we coach them up, we get excited, and then we do our outreach calls together to set future appointments to go out there and build our business models, right? And these are the type of structured things that you don't get when you're brand new to the business or you're sitting as an independent broker, not doing any outreach. And this is why you join a team. And this is what Shaune's talking about. Now, we're not saying that down the road you can't become an entrepreneur and go out and build your own brokerage, right? But if you're finding yourself stuck in one small space and you're not growing and you're not getting bigger, right? Join a team that's going to help you get to that next level, provide you that structure, provide you that back-end support system. And in some case, we even provide what we call orphan loans, where we give them clients that we've closed in the past for loan officers that are no longer with us so they can do outreach to those clients. And we find that even if they're outreaching to a sphere that's not theirs, they still pick up 10% of those that they can actually transition back into future opportunities. So I think you're right on the money, Shaune. If you are not already established, you don't have a system, join a team, learn from them, build your processes, build your systems around that, And then you can start focusing on what that next step looks like once you get brilliant in the basics.
Let's get the psychology right. I know we probably need to wrap it up. You're saying the right things, and going from someone with a larger, cut from you might mean that they have systems and things you don't have to think about.
That's right.
You don't have the ones that give you really good splits. That means you're 100% on your own. Get after it. You have to build it all. You have to set it all, and you don't even know what a successful system looks like.
Amen.
Right? But the psychology of it is, Devin, when you started as a loan officer or in the business, did you have a line of 100 people ready to give you loans?
Absolutely not.
No one did. I didn't have 50 people ready to sell their house. We all started with zero. Okay. So keep in mind, psychologically, we all started with zero.
That's right.
Just because someone has a bigger network than you, I promise you, someone moving to a new city that has the right systems and processes, knows no one, they will beat you. So you have to start with the basics every single time, and you can build your own systems and you can build your own database. And every week, make a commitment. I'm going to add 20 people to my contact list, and I'm going to put them in. I'm going to enroll them, and I'm going to stay in front of them, and I'm going to send them my personal newsletter or the video that I created for them. That's going to add value to their life. I mean, there's some easy things you can do.
That's right. That's right. Just get a little bit better every single week. And eventually you'll look back, see where you are. You're having massive success. And it's just the brilliance in that basics of what it is that you need to do to build a long-term successful business. We all started at zero, just like Shaune said, right? So at the end of the day, Shaune, what's some closing words? What do we want to sign off with today?
Everyone started the same, right? And I'll tell you the difference between successful agents and unsuccessful. Almost every single time, the successful agents know their outcome. They know their outcome because they have system and processes that point them to the outcome. And they treat everyone in the same space. You'll finally figure out that 80-90% of your transactions are going to do the exact same thing every single time. And I know their personal story is different, but they still have the same core problems in place. You still need to get a survey. You still need to get an appraisal. You still need to get it listed. You still need to promote it. You still got to do an open house. You still got to put a sign in the yard. There's so many things that are exactly the same every single time.
That's right.
So if you can learn to really get good at that, then you'll be able to predict your outcome. And it's not meaning that I work 40 hours this week. If I work 120 hours, then I'll go from 58 to 150,000. It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't.
So that'd be my closing statement.
It doesn't. I love it. I love it. Well, and when you do get to the point where your business is starting to take off, that's where you start to hire additional support. And that's how you find yourself doing more business, right? And we know that you've got a Jennifer that helps you in the background. I also have a Jennifer that helps me in the background. And that's what allows for us. We do. We love the Jennies. That's what allows for us to move on to those next levels. So guys, thank you so much for dropping in again to the Counterculture Agent with Shaune Corbett. We're going to keep these things coming back every single week. If you have a topic that you're interested in hearing about, drop it in the chat. Drop it in the comments. Make sure that you subscribe if you're not subscribed. And I think, Shaune, we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for dropping in today.
Thank you, guys.
You've been watching Loan Officer Success Live, where real strategies meet real success. Don't forget to subscribe now and share it with your teammates and keep leveling up, because your next breakthrough starts here. If this fired you up, don't just watch success, go out there and build it.